Oh, tis another cold one in the UK. Oh, that's a bit too bright. Oh, blinding. Turn it down a bit. There we go. Hello and welcome back to Car Obsession, and welcome to part 3 of whatever I end up calling this series. I haven't got a name for it yet at this present moment. Petrolhead lives with an EV. What is it like to live with an EV car? Yep, I'm sure I'll come up with a name eventually. So in this part, as you can tell by the title, well, part of the title, it is about the pros and cons of owning an electric vehicle. Excuse me, it's very cold in the UK, so I'm going to warm my hands up on this lovely flask of hot tea. So like anything in life, there are pros and cons of an electric car. So the car is on charge as we speak. I actually charged the car yesterday, but because it wasn't a full charge, although I did charge it to, I think it was 84%. Yes, it wasn't a full charge, and already the battery has fallen a fair bit. Now, the reason for that is, as I've mentioned, it is cold, so cold weather can have a negative impact on batteries. And as such, because it has been cold, it has meant I've had to have the climate control on. I've also had the heated steering wheel on, and at times also my heated seats. Apologies if my jacket is rustling. It is quite a thick jacket and it's very nice. So yes, I'm wearing it to keep warm. I don't know if I've dropped enough hints, but it is cold. Anyway, let's get on to today's topic, and that is the pros and cons. Now, let me start off with the pros, of course. Now, one of the great pros of electric cars is, of course, zero emissions. In fact, this car is so proud about not emitting any kind of emissions that it has zero emissions written down the side. So that is, of course, better for the planet. Very good indeed. Another pro of owning an electric car is it is cheaper to run, and they are also cheaper to maintain. Because it is an electric battery, the car has less moving parts. So for example, when when this car needs to be serviced, it won't need like a new oil filter or spark plugs or anything like that, because of course it doesn't have any. Therefore, there's less to go wrong, and that means that they should be reliable. Now, having a battery in a car does have its cons, but I will come to that a little bit later. So cheaper to run, cheaper to maintain, zero emissions. And whilst I'm on the topic of cheaper to run, obviously, well, you may not know, for a car like this, you don't have to pay any vehicle excise duty. Therefore, for a petrol car or diesel, you're looking at about £145 per year, give or take. Whereas for this car, you pay nothing, which is very handy indeed. Gives you a little bit of extra money in your wallet. So bear with me. That's gorgeous. Made just right by my wife. For those of you based in the UK, you don't have to pay to drive this into London. Now, for those of you outside of the UK who aren't aware, we have what is called the Congestion Charge. Basically meaning, if you drive a petrol or a diesel car into the centre of London, you have to pay a surcharge for the privilege. The idea being is that it should ease congestion, because a lot of people will think, well, in theory, will think, well, no, I won't drive into London, I'll get public transport, or I may cycle, or I may walk, whatever their mode of transport may well be. So, if you drive this car into London, or indeed any electric car into London, you won't have to pay the government a penny, which is very good indeed. So yes, you don't pay congestion charge. I've mentioned you don't pay VED. So this car is cheaper to run. That is the kind of bottom line. So cheaper to run, cheaper to maintain, zero emissions. What else? More convenient to a degree. Now, with an electric car, if you need to give it some more juice, you can simply charge it at home. Whereas with a petrol or a diesel, you would need to go to a petrol station or a fuel station or a gas station, whatever you want to call it if you are watching this outside of the UK. Whereas with a car like this, you can simply charge it up overnight, and then when you wake up in the morning to go to work or wherever you need to go, it's ready to go, it's ready to rock and roll. Now, if you're watching this thinking, well, hang on, Aaron, if you can charge it at home, how comes you're not doing that? Well, as I've mentioned in other parts of my kind of temporary ownership of this car, because this car has been lent to me by Nissan, I've got nowhere where I can charge this car at home, and I haven't got anywhere at my office where I work where I can charge it either. So which is why I've had to come to this charging station here, this public one, which is about a 5-minute drive from my flat, give or take. So it's convenient-ish. Don't get me wrong, I would much rather be charging this at home if I were able to, and then enjoying a nice hot cup of tea in my front room watching some TV, but instead I'm out here in the bitter cold. Electric cars are more convenient. They're smoother to drive as well. This car has been incredibly smooth to drive, and it is very easy to drive as well. My first drive was a long slog along the motorway. This car was just very, very pleasant, and I gave my wife a brief passenger ride in this car last night. We popped to the supermarket, and she was really impressed by just how smooth it was, and she actually said it felt like the car was gliding, and the car does have a very smooth aspect to it, and like I said a few moments ago, it is easy to drive, and because it is electric, it's pretty quick. Now, it's not supercar quick or, you know, proper hot hatch quick. However, I think you'd be surprised just how nippy this car is. Now, I believe the official 0 to 62 time from Nissan is 7.9 seconds, but in reality, it feels quicker, believe me. I wouldn't say it's rapid, pin you in the back of your seat quick, but yeah, this thing won't hang about. So there are plenty of positives to take from EV motoring. So, you know, cheapest run, zero emissions, you pay less for the government. Oh, that's another thing actually. You get a government grant. Therefore, when you buy this car, the government, you get a government grant which takes some money off the car. Now, it used to be £4,500, whereas last year the UK government, because of the high demand for EVs, the government has reduced it to £3,500. And beforehand, if you bought a hybrid, you would get the government grant, but now you don't. So if you were to buy a hybrid, the government, you won't get any money back from the government, which did cause quite a bit of an uproar, and I don't quite understand it. The government, you know, is always pushing us or encouraging us to go out and buy a hybrid or an EV, but then to take away the the amount that you subsidise, the government does seem to be a little bit backwards. It does send out mixed messages. Now, speaking of mixed messages, as I mentioned a few moments ago, for this moment in time, if you drive any electric car into, the centre of London, you don't pay the government anything. However, as of December 2025, electric cars will have to pay to go into the centre of London. So again, it's sending out mixed messages, because the way how the motoring world is going, more and more consumers will be buying electric cars. So therefore, surely you want to do more to encourage people to go out and buy an EV. Now, I can see it from the government's point of view in the form of, well, if more people have an electric car, there's less need to kind of push people into it and encourage them. I get that, but if I'd been one of the first people to get an electric car and seeing the government kind of take away the perks one by one, I must admit I would be pretty cheesed off. So yes, those are the pros of owning an electric car, and I must admit I've only spent 3 days with this car, and quite quickly I can see why this type of ownership is so attractive. I am a petrol head through and through, and although I don't think this car will convert me to the ways of electric vehicle motoring, I can definitely see why so many more people are going towards it, because it does make sense. Cheaper to run, like I said, I'm not going to keep going over the pros, so probably a good time for me to focus on the cons. Like I said, like anything in life, you will have your pros and you will have your cons. The first con is electric cars are more money to buy. So yes, they are cheaper to run, but that does kind of get offset a little bit by the amount you have to pay. Now, this car I'm sat in right now, it's got the optional Spring Cloud Green paintwork. Yes, Spring Cloud Green. And I've also got the Pro Pilot. So this car is approaching £30,000, which I think for what it is isn't actually too bad. I've got lots of kit on offer. Now, this is the mid-range end connector model. So I've got the 7-inch touchscreen, I've got navigation, I've got smartphone connectivity, DAB radio, Bluetooth, I've got climate control, heated seats, heated steering wheel, I've got adaptive cruise control. Yeah, needless to say, I've got a lot of equipment in here, and by no means is it Spartan. So the price isn't actually too bad, although it is more expensive than an internal combustion engine equivalent. So yes, electric cars are more money to buy, even when you get a little bit of money back from the government. So that is quite a large con if you're on a budget. Another con is battery life. Now, the range of electric cars is slowly getting better. So, for example, the new Nissan Leaf is better than its predecessor, which can only be a good thing. But we're still at a point where the range, it can't quite match what you could get from a petrol or indeed a diesel. So I know the infrastructure is still growing, but the range still needs to be improved. But I'm sure, give it another 5 years, and I'm sure the range of cars will kind of make a small leap. Another con is, so talking about range, the battery life itself. Now, batteries in modern day electric cars have been made in such a way that they should last for amount of time. However, it is, after all, a battery. Batteries do wear out eventually. Whereas you could have a classic car that's got a petrol engine or a diesel engine, as long as it has been maintained and serviced well, it could go on for years and years and years. In fact, if you are a subscriber of Car Throttle, you may remember a few months ago they did a feature on a high mileage Skoda, which had done, I think it was, over 430,000 miles. Could you do that in an electric car? I'm not an expert, but I would like to say no. I may be wrong, but yeah, I can't quite see it. Now, Nissan and a lot of manufacturers, they do of course put a warranty on their batteries. So Nissan will give you a 8-year warranty or a 100,000 mile warranty, whatever comes first. So that does give the consumer peace of mind. Very good indeed. However, at some point the battery will need to be replaced. Now, I've done a bit of research this evening, and for a replacement battery for this car, you're looking at about £5,000, which isn't quite as expensive as it would have been a few years ago. So it is better. However, £5,000 isn't exactly pocket money. Now, some could argue that after 8 years of ownership, you'd probably, you may not even keep this car for that long. Therefore, it may not be an issue, and I completely understand that. Nowadays a lot of cars are bought on finance or PCP deals, whereby give it 3-4 years and you're either upgrading the car, giving the car back, trading it in for something else, or you could pay the balloon payment and keep the car. But I imagine that doesn't happen all too often. So the actual battery life of the battery itself is still an area which needs improving. But 8 years is quite a long time, let's face it. So that shouldn't be too much of an issue. So yes, cost of buying, range, obviously the life of the battery itself. Charging time, yes, of course. How could I almost forget that one. So I'm plugged up to a quick charge now, so it's on 60% after 21 minutes, so not too bad. But yes, when you fill up with petrol or diesel, it is a very quick affair. You go to your, you go to your fuel station, you lift up the pump, put in however much you need, put the pump back, go in and pay. So let's face it, that process takes about 5-10 minutes, not very long at all. Whereas now, granted I'm on a quick charge, but I've been sat here over 21 minutes, and I'm going to be sat here, I anticipate, for perhaps another 20 minutes, give or take. So you're looking at about 40 minutes all in. Now, to be fair, to get the car from 22% to full in 40 minutes or whatever, however long it may take, isn't too bad. Let's face it, you know, it's a similar time to charge a smartphone. Well, it actually probably takes longer to charge a smartphone, in fact. So it is impressive. However, it still needs to be a little bit quicker to be properly convenient, and it means people like me, I know I am a bit of an extreme case because I can't charge the car at home, but it means people like me don't have to be sat here in the cold, just kind of aimlessly not doing much. Another thing that I've seen people comment about online is that electric cars can be less fun to drive. In all honesty, I don't really know what they are getting at, because I must admit I have had quite a bit of fun in this car. I love the power delivery. It is actually quite addictive, because you put your foot down and there's no delay. You don't get any turbo lag, because obviously this car doesn't have a turbo, nor do you have to rev it like you would a naturally aspirated car. You put your foot down, the power is there, there's no delay, it's just boom, instant. And I really like that. I really like the fact that every time you put your foot down, it just pulls you along effortlessly. It's just, yeah, you know, I am quite a big fan of that. So yes, I think it's probably about time I wrap up, because I've been talking for about 32 minutes, which will mean quite a drastic edit, quite a ruthless edit from yours truly. But yes, I just wanted to dedicate this part of my electric vehicle ownership, of really the pros and cons of having a car like this. I think the question is, you're probably asking me, would I own an electric car? In all honesty, no, because I am, as I said earlier, a petrolhead through and through, and I just love, you know, a traditional internal combustion engine. However, I am warming to the idea of electric cars, and let's say, for example, I wanted a cheap runabout that was cheap to run, then an electric car would make sense. Now, I know I mentioned earlier, electric cars do cost more money to buy, but as time goes on, there's more cars available on the market. I imagine you'll be able to pick them up for a few thousand, and it's the kind of ideal car if you just want to nip into town. And like I say, it's just cheap to run and cheap to maintain. So yeah, I am starting to appreciate the world of EV a little bit more. Well, I say a little bit more, you know, a fair bit more. So yeah, probably time to end. The car is on 75% with 33 minutes gone. Actually 34, it's just ticked over. So yeah, I anticipate I'm going to be here about another 10 or 15 minutes. So I'm going to enjoy the rest of my tea before it gets cold. And I'd like to thank you for watching this video. Granted, I know it hasn't been the most dynamic video. It's just being sat in an electric car waffling on. But yes, thank you so much for watching. If you have found it, see, electric cars can't do that. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you have found it useful or informative or interesting. I really do hope you have. If so, give it a massive thumbs up. If you are subscribed to Car Obsession, don't forget to click that bell icon so you get notified every time I make a video. And if you aren't subscribed, guys, what are you waiting for? Be sure to subscribe for more Car obsession.